Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday with Tina here, and I want to touch base with you talking today about estates and what that means when I say that I specialize in helping people with the sale of their estates. So it's not a subject that many people bring up prior to needing to take care of this, but it is definitely a serious subject that I want to touch on and make sure that all of you understand where I'm coming from when I'm talking about estates. Now, some of them will be inherited properties where the parents or one parent has maybe moved down to Florida for health reasons or just to get out of the cold weather and enjoy sunny Florida, which everybody has a dream of retiring to Florida, right? So what happens many times is the children live up north. They do come to visit, while their parents are here, but they really have no desire to move their jobs, move their children, and come down to Florida permanently, or even use those homes as vacation homes. So then they decide that they want to put the house on the market. And many of the people don't realize that the state of Florida, we do have certain laws and regulations, and depending on how the deed is written up and how the will is written up will determine whether or not they need to go through probate. Many times the property does need to be probated, and that does take a few months. So typically as a real estate agent, as a professional realtor, I do like to wait until the property has come out of probate or we have gotten word that that things are moving along quickly and that the property will be available to be able to be turned over within a month or so of listing that property. Other times you don't need to go through probate, and there are special circumstances, different ways that the property can be deeded so that it does not need to go through probate. That is something I always encourage you to talk to an estate planning lawyer about, so that when that time does come, then it makes it a little bit easier on the family as to how that property is going to be taken care of. So recently, I have worked with a couple of different people who have been in different situations, and one of them was the executor of the estate, and I did speak with her at length, and she is decided that because one of the neighbors wanted to purchase the property, that would be the easiest way for her to go about selling the property versus listing it with a realtor. So she thought that she was going to save herself some time by just accepting that contract, taking it to the title company. The title company actually gave her the contract that they were going to use to make that sale possible. And then she found out that she was going to have to get signatures from everyone else. And so that became something that became a burden for her. And when I did call just to follow up and see how things worked out for her, then she was a little frustrated because she was having trouble getting in touch with some of the people that she needed signatures from for that sale to move forward. So those are just some of the things. I can't always reach out to those people for you, but I do help you in communicating with them long distance. If you need an e-signature on a purchase and sales contract, I do that for you as a realtor, and that helps you from having to, go look around and find who's going to do that for you and things like that. Sometimes negotiating becomes an issue as well, and negotiating and letting the other people know, and me talking to the other people involved and making sure that that everybody's going to agree on the sales price and come to an agreement with the buyer once you have a buyer for that property. That is something that I do as well. If you are having trouble communicating with your family about what an offer is and where the price should be for it to sell in our market area, that's a conversation that I get paid to have for you on your behalf with those other siblings or other people in the family who maybe don't necessarily want to hear what you have to say about your feelings on that price, but I can call them and I can give them facts and figures so that they understand why the property should be sold at such a price, and what selling it for a higher price might entail as far as extra things to be fixed up for the house, or repairs that a buyer may request for their loan, so on and so forth. So I can kind of help ease that burden of trying to explain those things to the other people involved as well. Another issue that I recently had was a friend who came to me, and her mother passed away. Her father had passed away years before, and she was actually on the deed with her mom. So when it came to trying to settle the estate, she did have her estate lawyer who helped her with the items that she did need to share with family versus the house being in her name and what all that was going to entail. So we sat down and we had a good long conversation. We did have family involved in that conversation, and it was to prepare everyone for what to expect, not only in listing the property, but in getting the estate sale taken care of. And I provide names of vendors and things like that, so that if you need to sell off some expensive items, that estate sale owner can keep track of the records of what things sold for, so that you can share that with your family and they don't feel like you are out to cut their throat for anything. And then you can also move forward with the sale of the property and prepping it. A lot of times these properties are going to need what we refer to, and I know it's not a nice term, but we call it a trash out. So once all of the items have been sold or donated that people can reuse, then a lot of times there are things like maybe some old tools that people did not necessarily want, maybe some cleaning supplies that people are not going to want to reuse for whatever reason. Either the bottles and containers are partially full, or the rags and the sponges and the brooms and mops and so on and so forth are older, so people aren't necessarily going to want to reuse those. So so we do have people who can come in and clean up the property and make sure that it's spick and span after they get rid of the things that need to be thrown away, thus the term trash out. So many times we have people who we can refer to you, and you can choose which of the people that we refer to you that you want to hire to help you with those things, with those items. We try to provide you with at least 2 or 3 names for each vendor that we recommend to you, so that you have the opportunity not only to compare prices, but to talk to them, see what their time frame is, and make sure that it's somebody that you feel like you can trust in that person's home, that you're comfortable with having in your house, your parents' house, your estate that you've inherited or what have you. So we really want to make the process as comfortable as possible. There are times that we do run into issues when we get to close to the closing with the title company. Sometimes they're not able to find some siblings that you've not spoken with in years, and that is something that they do have to be able to do in order to have the closing paperwork properly signed by everybody. There are special circumstances when perhaps you have a POA. Just understand that a POA no longer is enforceable once someone passes away. And if you are holding a POA for someone, including your parents or your spouse, that POA needs to be a very specific type of POA in order to convey property. So many times I'm going to ask you if I can have a copy of that POA just so I can take it down to my closing company. They're going to have a look at it, and they're going to let me know whether or not they can use the one that you currently have in place. If they cannot use that one, then if that person is still alive and still of sound mind, then they're going to go ahead and draw up the specific POA that is specific to being able to sell that property. Other times that those things might come into play is if they've come if they're starting to lose their ability to live by themselves, if their mind is not quite what it used to be, and sometimes that comes and goes for a while, then you know, you may want to talk to an estate planner who can help you decide what type of POA you may need to be able to help that person down the road. And so that's part of what I do as someone who does help people with their estates, and listing their estates and making sure that all of that paperwork is done properly, making sure that you're talking with a Florida estate planner, estate lawyer who can talk to you about how we do business here in Florida and the proper paperwork that you need to have done in order for those things to take place. I am not a lawyer, but I can absolutely direct you to the people that you need to talk with in order to take care of the business when you need to get it taken care of. And anybody that's involved in that estate planning, then I'm happy to speak to anybody on your behalf or on the family's behalf. And I try to make it as easy as possible. I know it's difficult for most people to talk about, but I'm here to do that for you if you ever need to start early planning for what you're going to do with someone's estate or your estate even. I'm happy to do that. I've been talking with one lady actually for a number of years. We've known each other since I moved to this area. And a few years after I got my real estate license, she called and started questioning me about, you know, what all is involved in selling a house, what all is involved in listing a house, what does a seller need to do in order to list a house. And so that's why I say I am here to help you from preparation to the closing table and even afterwards. So sometimes that preparation takes a little bit of time for your spouse to understand and want to get involved in preparing for that moment, or your parents helping them plan for that moment. It's not an easy conversation for a lot of families. I understand that completely. And I'm just here to help you with that planning. So if I can ever be of service to you, then I am more than happy to sit down with you, your siblings, your spouse, your parents, whoever may be involved in making those plans, and walking you through what is going on in the world of real estate today, how that may change 2 or 3 years from now, or how it may change in 6 months. At any step of your preparation for trying to make those plans for your estate, then I'm more than happy to help you wherever I can. And you know, I don't get paid until the closing table. If it takes a few years to get you situated, or for that event to happen that would lead you to make that decision to do something, don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm here to help you. My name's Tina Arant with Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage. I am a real estate broker associate, and you can reach me at 386-983-2617, and I do specialize in both Clay County and Putnam County. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a blessed week. Bye.